Welcome to all our viewers. This is Organic Politics. I am your host, Greenough Nowakowski. I'm very pleased to be here again with Terry Hester. This time, we're going to talk about the Black Lives Matters movement and other issues of race and community in the United States. Terry, welcome again.
Thank you, Greenough, and thank you again for having me as a guest on Organic Politics.
It's wonderful to have you. In our last show, we talked some about your work as an entrepreneur, working to get to know Vermont farmers, talk to people in Vermont who are interested in cultivating hemp, and working towards a coalition along the East Coast of different hemp growers and hemp processors. We're not going to focus too much on hemp today, but it's a backdrop to other issues in the Black community and the United States community. Terry grew up in, I'm going to introduce Terry again, even though folks who saw our previous show, and I encourage you to watch What's Hemp Got to Do with It. Terry grew up in North Carolina as a somewhat young child. Her parents moved to Brooklyn, New York, but luckily she kept getting to visit Grandma in North Carolina, where tobacco was grown and where she learned a lot about the importance of health connected to the natural world. So the connection with growing things to keep us healthy and grounded. She moved to Texas, lived in Houston, Texas, and now she's in Georgia. She's the mother of 3, the grandmother of 5, including, which gives her great pride, a United States honor student amongst her grandchildren. Terry, would you share with us your perspective on being Black in America right now?
Being Black in America, depending on your perspective, for some, it's not a good thing. It's not a good place to be. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fear, especially for males, and now females, we're seeing it. Mm-hmm. But being Black in America, as far as I am concerned, it gives me a great opportunity to communicate, have conversations of understanding, because I'm able to cross all kinds of lines without a hidden agenda.
Yeah.
The idea is to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And learn people up close and personal, and not be swayed by what the media has to say.
Yeah. You said that you noticed, well, you said that you knew it before you came when I pointed out Vermont is a pretty white place.
Yes, I discovered that a long time ago, Greenough. And because I believe that everything is done or even we're here for a reason and a purpose. Mm-hmm. I believe it was my job and my duty and my mission in life to come here with a great agenda, moving the economics, seeing what we could do as far as a great plan is concerned, bridging bridges as far as race is concerned, more than anything else. Yeah. It takes me back, since I'm just relocating back to Georgia, that is the home Martin Luther King was born at. Yeah. So it gave me another kind of perspective when I was looking at the Martin Luther King Center, and I saw this flame. And it was an eternal flame that was never put out. Well, that's the only way I can describe the flame that burns inside of me for change, positive changes. And in order to do the positive changes, I'm not one to just talk about it. Yeah. I'm coming out, and I actually feel, taste, and touch change. When I come out and meet beautiful people such as yourself, then I learn you as the human being, my other self.
Yeah.
And in many countries, India being one of them, they believe that you are me. So therefore, when I respect you, I'm respecting myself. So with that, the divine in you as well. So if I can inspire anyone, then I feel my mission has been accomplished. If I can change people's minds and mindset, if I could get people to move mentally, consciously, into the next step of evolving, then again, my mission is done.
You know, I just got an image of, we hear about it on the news. We heard about the Confederate war flag being finally taken down from what state?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. And the image is one right on the roads, in these roads, Vermont, New Hampshire, young white men with the Confederate flag blazing behind their truck. My question is, I don't think they know what that means. What would you say, or what would you want someone who's showing his rights for freedom and showing what he thinks by flying a Confederate flag? What do you think that's about? Can you speak to that?
I couldn't speak from my own perspective, of course.
Yeah.
And from what I know now as a community organizer, many things are learned. And as parents, we teach things. Growing up, you have a black baby and a white baby together. They know nothing. But it's our experiences, it's things that we're exposed to that shape and mold our inner and outer consciousness, which determines our outer
actions.
Exactly. So it reminded me of this, one of the men that got shot in the face during the 2011 by a skinhead. It happened in Texas, and he was shot in the face, and actually 3 people were shot that day by a skinhead. And he was of Iranian descent.
The man who was the skinhead.
The man was shot.
The man who was shot was not a black man,
he was
but
an
an Iranian man or Iranian man.
Yes.
Okay.
Who had just came into the country a few months ago, and he was at his relative's store.
Yeah.
So he didn't understand a lot of the English.
Yeah.
So he didn't even realize he was getting robbed.
Oh.
But the idea was not to rob him, it was to kill him. So I had the privilege of speaking to this young man because he survived.
He survived.
Yes.
I think I know who this man is. I think I've run into this. Go on, go on.
Well, when he found out that he was a victim of hate, and they had arrested the young man, the skinhead, what I guess the greatest thing for me is what he did.
Yes, I think I know this story. This is great. I'm so glad you're sharing this story. Go on.
He prayed right there in the street when he got shot that if he lived, he made a promise that he would dedicate his life to helping others. He made a promise at that moment of him dying that he would do his part to do whatever he could to make the world a better place.
Okay.
He was a man of his word. When they arrested the young man who had shot him and killed 2 other people, he was put on death row in Texas.
Yeah, yeah.
And the governor, they had him to put him up there to die. In the meantime, when the young man who was shot learned that he was there, he was put on death row.
That his almost killer was put on death row. Yes.
He wrote to the governor.
Yeah.
And asked to forgive him and spare his life.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is what it did to the perpetrator, to the one who shot him. And when he did the interview, he was ready to face the punishment for what he did. But he was so taken aback. He said, I didn't learn that. That he did not realize that someone who he wanted to kill could show so much of compassion. Not only was it just him, it was a whole community of people that rallied behind not letting him die. He petitioned the governor.
He being who? The
Iranian guy. He petitioned the governor, Rick Perry, to save his life, but it was not granted.
Oh. Okay.
You see, it would have been more beneficial for that young man who committed this horrible crime to live, because it transformed his life, because someone just showed kindness, not anger, in return. It's the same way as to what my family experienced last year.
Okay.
Last February 14th, my only nephew was murdered in Houston, Texas, by police officers while he was in custody.
All right, let's make sure we get that. How old was he?
He was 37 years old.
Oh, so he was not a child.
No.
A 37-year-old man.
Father of 4.
Father of 4. The son of your sister was in police custody in
Texas, Houston.
In Houston, Texas. And he's another victim of police brutality in our country.
Yes. Now, this young man was not detained because he committed a crime against another person, or he robbed or stole or murdered anyone. He simply brought his kids home late. They loved their father. So they had a visitation and it went overtime. And he was arrested.
Oh boy.
Because of that.
So already there's an overreach,
yes,
of the law. Okay.
And this, needless to say, that was my sister's only son. And the circumstances that came out of them, it becomes very real when you see a video of it. So this past, actually last month, the news station had a copy of the video that was videoed of him being murdered by these police officers. And this is what the...
Do you think it was leaked out of the police? Or
no,
somehow? No.
This has been a year later now.
Okay.
And the attorneys who was working on the case, we were asking for the video.
Okay.
Since we found out that they had one, and it was just released. I saw it for the first time in May.
Oh.
And my sister actually saw it for the first time last month.
Oh. That must be awful.
When I first saw it, the news released it on YouTube. They only had 8 hits because it was just a few minutes after they had released it. Since then, 3 weeks ago, it has become viral with over 10,000 hits on it.
I bet you more than 10,000. That's not actually that many. You think it's just 10,000?
It just was, from the last time I saw it,
okay.
It was there.
Okay.
But what it did, it gave me an opportunity to look at other cases all over the nation as to the brutality. Now, I grew up with law enforcers, private security, armed.
Your father worked in this industry.
He had one of the largest contracts in Brooklyn in the 70s.
Okay.
I was affiliated with a lot of great people, movie stars, artists, that he had private security for.
Okay.
And even when I saw people that had to be, accosted or physically subdued, there was a protocol. Police officers were my friends growing up. We had no fear of them. But what do you do when the very people that are sworn to protect you turns around and they are the murderers? So dealing with that, it also allowed me to become aware, like I said, of other people that have experienced the same thing my family has. And if you just look on YouTube, it's endless of what is going on. Just this week, I'm reminded of a young man. His name is Devin Guilford. Devin was only 17 years old. And he flashed his lights to the police officer because he had his high beams on and it was blinding him. But the officer was extremely irritated. And a long story short, that brief encounter left a 17-year-old dead. Now, Devin is a young white Caucasian man. So, the issue, I believe, is going right back to whoever is training. Where are they getting these officers? Where is their rage coming from?
Okay, so you just pointed out that the story you just told about the young man flashing his lights at an unknown car coming towards him was a white man.
Yes.
And he met with the rage of police officers.
Yes.
And the question, very important to discuss, is what's happened to police officers? Where does their rage come from? Good.
Another interesting point is, of course, we living in the age of information. If you don't know, it's because you don't want to know.
Okay.
It's just too many things that now you can do your own research. You don't even have to watch hear what the news is saying. You can look things up yourself.
Yeah, you're right.
The other matter is they had a very disturbing. They had a police officer who was a sergeant who was photographed as a KKK at one of their rallies. But this is the same person that puts on a uniform. So they have pre-arranged thoughts in another agenda. So it goes back as to what citizens can do. What do citizens do when your government and the officers that are sworn to protect you turns against you?
Yeah, what do you do?
And yes, Black Lives Matter, the organization, and I understand why they came into fruition.
Yeah.
My personal stance is all lives matter. But because we for many, many years have felt that heaviness, that pressure to be better, do better, go to better schools, do this, do that, and no matter what you're doing, they're still looking at your outer.
Yeah.
So it just made me wonder, what is it about our black skin that offends? What is it that intimidates? What is it? Well, that might be another answer for another show.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
But it goes back to knowing who you are. But then there's another. I feel that we're in a shift, a paradigm shift here in the United States and in history, period.
Yeah.
So my outlook on life is very positive. Yeah. I believe that whatever is going on is being revealed and it will be removed. There's a lot of conspiracy theories, as people were saying. It doesn't affect people until it affects you. People doesn't think about things until it affects them. You may not know what it is to be hungry until all of a sudden you don't have any food. Yeah. You may not know what it is to miss a kid or to lose loved ones unless it comes to your doorstep.
I believe people have the capacity to be empathetic. I hope that people will take action and be supporters of campaigns and the paradigm shift, a shift away from abuse of power, away from excluding people who aren't exactly like you, whether it's gender, color, class, income level, country of origin, language. I'm hoping that people don't have to have disaster fall upon them before they act towards the change that we need.
Right.
And so I am very excited by the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's brilliant. I think it's inspired. I think it's strong. I think it's time has come, long since come.
I believe that a lot of things has been portrayed in the media.
Yeah.
Again, my take on tell a vision.
Tell a vision.
And if you really think about it, things that happened a long time ago and it was just sci-fi or it was just a TV program, we have to be more aware. These are people who purposely know their power of influencing the mind. And because the television is a great medium, it could be used for good or evil.
And here we are on television.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to be aware of who tells your vision.
Yeah.
And
what vision you latch on to.
It's very, very important. Because I believe that I am, you know, when you have those applications and they ask you what race and you have that check off, well, they don't have the one in my category.
Human.
Exactly. They're the human race.
Yeah.
And anytime you have other people hit one another, one against another, we have to go back and see where it's coming from. The root causes, causes, effects. So if this is what we're seeing here, a lot of people say, oh, everything is going to hell. We are very chaotic. This world, we don't know. The blacks is taking over, the whites is taking over. And you hear all of this confusion. I go back and realize there is such a thing as control chaos.
What are you talking about?
So if you control the media, if you have that power, then you have the power for them to put out anything that you want them to put out to further whatever agenda you may have.
And people watch a lot of television. Hope you're watching us today.
Yes, I do. So because I am a person of action, and I did a lot of studying. People of color, black people, has been like the hunted for many, many, many years. So pray.
Pray.
So that means the hunters have studied everything that you could do. Well, if I do this, they're going to react this way. If we do this, they're going to act this way. If we kill, they normally protest. It's just they're looking at all of this other stuff. But I want to say that we're responsible for them getting there because of our power. And the power is money. The thing that I want to say, if you don't think that we have power, just think of Black Friday weekend. In 2013, over $61 billion was spent during that 4-day period.
Black Friday, the shopping, the American shopping tradition.
Yes. Well, it wasn't a tradition when I was growing up.
No, no. It's a recent tradition.
Yes.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you have all these huge corporations that have profited very well. So therefore, they can install more stuff against you. They have more gadgets they can purchase. And after the Christmas holidays, everybody's looking like, wow, where's my money? But it's also a great perception that people of color are one of the most known consumers. We will consume. So this year, when I was talking to a few people that's involved in Black Lives Matter, as well as other community organizations, businesses, I posed a suggestion. Why keep feeding the persons that's persecuting you? Well, what do you mean, Terry?
Okay, let me post that question to make sure it's clear to everybody. Why keep feeding the people that are persecuting you?
Yes.
Okay. Go on.
So as of yesterday, after a few talks, and I had this thought in my mind for a couple of years now. And again, going to the root of the matter and thinking about Martin Luther King and how successful he was with the boycott.
Okay. Give us a little, not everybody knows what the boycott is or was. Tell us.
Well, that's when they had boycotted riding the buses.
Mm-hmm.
Because they wouldn't let people of color ride come through the front door.
Mm-hmm. Where is this and when is it? People don't know their history. We just got to make sure on the map.
Oh my goodness.
Was it Selma?
This was in Montgomery.
Montgomery, Alabama.
Yes.
Yep.
Did it start in Montgomery, Alabama? And I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. Parks.
Well,
Rosa Parks.
Yes, Rosa Parks.
She's said to have ignited it because she refused to give up her seat.
Yeah. She was tired. She didn't want to stand for her bus ride.
Yes.
For a white person.
So her actions caused another reaction.
Yep.
So that's when the another movement, civil rights movement, is actually sprung into action. Yeah. And it started with them boycotting the buses.
That's right. Okay, so it's Montgomery, Alabama, 60-something. That's
Yes.
That's good.
So as I was looking at the tomb of Martin Luther King, I was thinking, what would you do at times like this?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah.
And keeping really quiet and listening, I was thinking, let's do something of the same era, but what can we do on a national level?
Yeah.
So as of yesterday, as all of our talking, we're proposing that this year and every year after, we will boycott Black Friday. Mm-hmm. We're asking no one to spend their money. Not only doing that Black Friday weekend, we're saying Christmas and Thanksgiving. No, don't not spend your money. And if you are going to spend it with those that are people of color, but with no corporations. You see, one thing about being out in Vermont, and I've been looking around, it's a lot of poverty here too.
There is.
And it is irrespective of color. It doesn't have a name. Poverty does not have a name. Mm. We're all affected in some ways. The same. Yeah. The same. We may live in a different county, different state, but some of the things are the same issues we are all facing. Yeah. And we can face it when we have another arm, when we have another person, when we have incentives to do it, when you have hope. Mm-hmm. So therefore, since we are a large consumers, people of color, they're being asked not to consume. Walmarts have gotten to the point that now they have installed face recognition cameras in their stores.
Walmart?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not in all, in some
yeah.
communities. So that means you could go to the store, or a young lady or a man who needs to get something for their children. And, okay, you might have a speeding ticket. Okay. Okay, or you may have a reason for you to be arrested. Not necessarily a criminal. But because you got detained and arrested, what does that do to an already stressed family? And that Walmart is there. It was in the newspaper. They could read it as well, your listeners. Yeah. So that I see that some of the money that was spent during those holidays in which we enrich our captors.
We enrich our captors. Yep. Okay. Okay.
Because that money, $61 billion, was not returned into the communities.
No.
But we continue to feed into the madness.
Yeah. So the proposal for Black Friday and the Black Friday weekend is for the black community to boycott, and anybody else. I've always boycotted Black Friday. We call it shopping day. I don't know. I forget. But I felt there was another component of buy from people of color.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. And people of color doesn't necessarily means black, of course.
Right.
Again, I'm engaged with diverse cultures.
Yeah.
And they're not immune either.
Yeah.
We have another Indian man who was visiting, who was simply, he didn't speak English. He was simply going around in the neighborhood. Someone called the police on him.
Because he looked different.
Yes. And he was physically assaulted by the police because they said he was a black. See, so the word black is just like a trigger word that inflames. So we want to know, what are you being trained to do? Why are you being trained that way? So if your listeners want to know, or your viewers want to hear anything else or get involved concerning boycotting, they could always go to my Facebook page, www.facebook.com. Terry Hester 11.
Terry Hester 11.
Yes.
11.
Yes.
Terry Hester. Terry Hester.
Yes.
11 on Facebook to see what you're up to.
See what I'm up to, which ways that they can engage in. We're always willing to listen. This is not a me thing. This is us thing. We the people thing. I believe our country has been hijacked by people who has no morals at all. So I want to have the power back. I grew up in the shadows of the Statue of Liberty. Look at so many people coming into the country. And so how can I even feel any other way but embracing other people when I was raised up that way?
You know, I encounter stories of people who are empowered by the wonderful concepts of our country. And so it's so great to be face to face with you as one of those people. We have a lot more time to talk, and I think I'd like you to share with our viewers a little bit of history where you mentioned when we were getting ready for our conversation today something that I'd never heard of, which was Black Wall Street. The story of something that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes.
Would you be willing to talk with us about that?
Sure. It was a time, and I believe it was in the 30s, that Tulsa, Oklahoma had a place that was named Black Wall Street. And again, anyone can look this up. But it was a place where mostly black people lived, and it thrived. They had their own banks, their own stores, their own insurance companies, anything to promote living, they had it there in that community. In fact, the community was thriving so well that even if your house got burnt down, you would be put up in another house right there in the community, and the community would build your house again. So
it was a vibrant, healthy community.
That millionaires actually live in there. And they were independent of all the surroundings in other cities.
And it wasn't just Tulsa. I mean, this was a neighborhood in Tulsa.
Yes.
Do you know about what the population was?
Not at that time. But however, it was such a close-knit community. When $1 was spent, it circulated 8 to 10 times before it left that community. Today, in our communities, $1 could it's no time. It doesn't spend any time.
You go to McDonald's, you go to Hannaford's. I don't know if it's true for the grocery store chains, to be honest, to be fair. You know, the chain restaurants, the big banks.
And unfortunately, that's what happened to a lot of the small mom and pop businesses. When big ones come in, they kind of like suck them up. And now they really bring a lot to your neighborhood.
No.
They're only to take.
So Tulsa has a terrific community in the 30s.
Oh my goodness.
And it had been, did this neighborhood start after slavery ended? People moving west to Oklahoma? Oklahoma was a young state.
A very young state, and some very affluent people that came from there. Or let's say even their masters or their slave owners had probably gave them some land as well. Very intelligent, and they went on to school and they got whatever they needed. And they became lawyers and doctors and things of that nature and built this beautiful community. Well, Greenough, the powers that be All of that changed over one weekend when the whole town, the whole community was burned down. And this happened because it was alleged that one young white boy, one young black African-American boy accosted a young white girl.
Mm-hmm. That was always the pretext for violence against blacks.
Yes, it was. It reminds me of Emmett Till,
mm-hmm.
the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have a history like this, yeah. and instead of you seeing things improving, which I thought we were mm-hmm. at one time, mm-hmm. and then all of a sudden, especially now in the 90s, well, in the 90s, I saw an uprise in deaths. Mm-hmm. But surely in the year 2000, mm-hmm. considering the law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So what I say, I was telling someone they just took the sheets off, and now they wore a badge.
They took the KKK sheets off and wore a badge.
Now they're wearing a badge.
But so in Tulsa, sometime in the 30s, that whole thriving community
was burned,
burned to the ground.
Yes.
By hundreds of whites coming in? Has it ever been solved?
Well, we already knew. Well, they speculated because of its thriving. Ever since I was born, I always felt that I don't know why they think we can't get along without them interfering, which is the white powers that be, as though we don't know anything. That's not true. In fact, we have contributed so much to America, and it has been stolen. Mm-hmm. We have not gotten the credit for it. Mm-hmm. So yes, use me and discard me. Mm. And so there is another reason why this is continuing. But getting back to Tulsa, what they did, they destroyed not only their community, but the mindset. Mm. When your mind, they instilled that fear. Yeah. It's like slavery. And I don't know if you heard or read the book, The Breaking of a Slave, where they will beat a woman inches from their life because a woman is the life giver. Yeah. And she would train her children, even beat her children for them if they were not submissive. Yeah. So all of this is ingrown here. Yeah. So if you have that history.
So Tulsa was too successful. We couldn't allow.
No.
We couldn't allow that.
No.
And now we see, I'm going to wrap up in about 5 minutes, but now we see a terrible disproportion of blacks incarcerated in this country. It's just not right. It's not fair. The laws, it's awful.
Well, for me, it represents almost like a pharaoh. Let my people go. Now, and for those, I am not a religious person, mm-hmm. but I'm definitely a spiritual one. Mm-hmm. And I know that we are in an influx of change. Mm-hmm. And it's because of that belief that I know, as we are sitting here today, things are already beginning to change for the positive.
Yeah, they are.
Because we are sitting here. And
let's conclude. Let's say something to those folks who are fearful out in the world, who are afraid of the change that would make us a nation of everybody being successful. Tell us, Terry, why we don't have to keep brown-skinned people, black-skinned people down in order to make it ourselves. Tell us.
For one, there's enough resources to go around for everyone. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that we're more alike each other than we are not like each other. Mm-hmm. The other thing I want, as far as fear is concerned, I grew up in this country, and it was a Christian country, which means the majority of people are Christians. The confusion came to me when I saw one thing said and another thing done. Yeah. So as those Christians, why are we still in this paradox of killing when we are supposed to be Christians? Yeah. And I'm not just saying killing one-on-one. I'm talking about wars and everything. So it has to be another reason. Yeah. And it's learned when parents send their children out to war to kill other people. Yeah. So And answer your question, I feel that right now, the only thing we could do is something I did. I got up, cut the television off, and I went across the street, and I started talking to my neighbors, introducing myself. I went to the store. I did more. Whatever I could observe, I didn't even ask many times. I just did it. If somebody said, I love your earrings, I love this, I'm like, here you go. I gave. And I did that because how I was feeling inside. So for those who are fearful, if you're a Christian, I want them to remember, you can't have fear and faith in the same space. Either you're going to have one or the other, but you can't have both.
Terry, there's so much more we could talk about, and we have a little bit more time, but pretty soon we're going to have to say goodbye for this session. I hope you'll come back to Vermont so we can share your wisdom and perspective again.
Thank you so much, Gina. Again, I appreciate you and Organo Politics, and Emily Peyton. I must give her my kudos, as they say.
It's great. It's great.
And we are live examples that we all work together when we're in unity. And no matter what, we will not allow outside influences to influence what we're doing here. We can only go forward. And that's my goal for being here in Vermont. And this is my goal for what I do as far as the community advocate is concerned. And I just hope that your listeners come away with something that they could take with them and spread abroad. Because Vermont, I do want it to be that springboard for a lot of other great things. Because I believe you guys here are wonderful. And of course, if you're farmers, how can you not be wonderful? Anyhow, working with the land. Thank you so much.
Oh, Terry, thank you so much for sharing. Once again, this is Organic Politics, your host, Greenough Nowakowski. I want to thank Fact Television, Falls Area Community Television. I love their motto, don't just watch television, make it. There are community television stations all over, and you can go there, have conversations with people who have experiences and perspective you want to share. Thank you to Emily Peyton, our producer. Come again, look future shows. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do 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 do.